A little bit about Binyamin. He's a crazy wild one. Even before the war, he told us straight out that he is ready to die for this country, if that's what it's going to take to make the land safer. It was very clear to him. He literally told us, if I have to die for Eretz Yisrael, I have to die for Eretz Yisrael. He was ready from the start to give his heart and soul and his blood for the Am and for the people and for the land. He worked at a farm, a very dangerous one, surrounded by Arabs, and he was always ready to fight for the land. Look, this is our land. And it's not because, we don't have another land. This is our land. This is Admat Kodesh. This is our Kedusha place. This is our home. This is our history. So every soldier out there knows that they are fighting for something that is part of them. They're passionate about it. They want evil to be destroyed. They want evil out and their homeland safe. They're fighting so that Am Yisrael. Binyamin also said, he says, I'm fighting so that the Am can have the land so that people can make aliyah and live all down south. Like he envisioned this is all going to end up with a mass aliyah and a whole new area for people to live.
Here we are, another week, another episode. We sat down with the most incredible Jen Airley on this weekend's episode of Meaningful People. We spoke about her son who was killed in Gaza as a soldier fighting to protect the land, Binyamin Airley, alav shalom. You may have seen videos going around of Jen. The shloshim, Shlomo Katz was singing with Shlomo Littman, and Jen took the mic to give the people chizuk, how we have to be b'simcha. We're not here to be sad, we're here to celebrate his life. That is Jen Airley, and there's so many gems in this episode. The whole story is just remarkable. I really, really want to thank her for being so vulnerable and telling her story to us. And her story about her son, I'm sure, is the story about many, many, many soldiers as well. And we shall continue to daven for the soldiers who are protecting the land of Eretz Yisrael, so those who are living there can live there, and those who aren't living there can, Mitzvah Hashem, live there as well. If you make aliyah from this episode, let me know. This episode is sponsored by my friends at Shamayim, formerly known as Alpert and Associates. You know, it's time that you take your finances and you get into the mode of serenity. Not stress, not but serenity. And that's why you choose Shamayim. Okay? You call Moshe Alpert at 718-644-1594, and he will take care of you from A to Z. No more stressing, no more scratching our head, no more wondering, can I pay for this? Can I buy this? What is this month going to look like? Can we do that? I don't know. When winter, can we go there? Can we buy this for the kids? You should really know what's going on. There's a few things you should really know in life. You should know where you're standing in your Yiddishkeit. You should know where your kids are probably most of the time. And you should know that you are financially stable. That happens when you choose Moshe Alpert at Shamayim. So go ahead and call 718-644-1594. Email them today at alpertmoshe@gmail.com. Another initiative I want to speak about, which is really, really incredible, is No Talking in Shul. Okay, this group was initiated when the war broke out. And as a chutz for the safety and the security of Klal Yisrael, 40 friends were mekabel not to speak in Shul during Shabbats morning for the duration of the entire Sefer Bereshis. The idea was passed around, and eventually 1,100 people joined in the Kabbalah. This is a WhatsApp community that sends out a video, message, bracha, chizuk, every single week from a Rav, and a lot of different types of memes have been going viral about this whole campaign. By joining this group, you are being mekabel. The strength in numbers gives chizuk and shows you that you are amongst friends, regular guys sitting next to you in shul that have committed to make this jump, and you can too. You join, you can take it week by week and be mekabel at your own pace. Klal Yisrael still very much needs our shloshim, and we're in Sefer Shemos now. Mitzvah Hashem, let's take talking in shul down a notch. No talking in shul, and that's what this initiative is all about. So you can hit the link in the description of the show notes of this episode. You can click the link to join the Kabbalah, click to be mekabel. It is an amazing, amazing initiative. It's not a negative thing either. It's not like, shushing each other. It's together as a group of guys, of friends, saying, this is something that we're doing for Klal Yisrael. For yourselves, for your family, your kids are sitting next to you, this will only benefit you. So go ahead. Stop talking in shul. Now, to the episode with Jen Airley.
You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I think a lot of people have had the opportunity to see some glimpse into the life that you're living today, and the circumstance that you've been sort of thrust into, not by any choosing of your own, but the way that you've responded to this tragedy, the way that you've responded in this crisis, and the way that you're choosing to live every day of your life is truly remarkable. It's astonishing. And Nachi and I are very honored to be able to spend a few minutes with you, and hear a little bit about your background and your upbringing, and of course of your story, that brings us together today. So if you would maybe start by taking us back to where you might have grown up and what might have brought you to Israel in the first place.
So, hi. Gosh, I mean, I can go back, when I was 4, no. I mean, I grew up in Long Island East.
Don't go back before birth. We start usually at birth. Before then.
I was going to say, because a piece of me, I mean, we're part of a chain.
Nachi's so much better, by the way.
It's true.
Nachi's so much better at like kicking us off, by the way.
No, Momo, you did a phenomenal job. You really did.
Oh, you're very kind, Nachi. But for everyone's benefit, Nachi's been having quite the 24 hours. So right before we started, he's like, Momo, do me a favor, just like kick us off. He's like, I'm going on fumes right now. So that was my best attempt at kicking us off.
It's funny, you say you're going off fumes. I feel like the whole Am Yisrael is like working off this like last bit of Pach Hashemen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we've got this like last little bit and we're all just like, it's lasting. That little last bit of fuel.
Honestly, I feel like I'm dealing with like first world problems. Or like kids have flu and this and that. It's like, it's things that Baruch Hashem, we're grateful for to deal with, Yes. Now that we're on fumes. Now that we're all on fumes, let's take us back.
No, but it's funny you say like pre-birth, but at the end of the day, like it's our Masorah. I feel like living in Eretz Yisrael, what got me here? We're part of the chain. Survivors of the Holocaust, my grandparents building a house here. It is pre-birth, but okay, we'll start off post-birth. Grew up in Eastern Long Island, Patchogue. And the only reason anyone would know where Patchogue is because of the Long Island Railroad.
Exactly.
If you're on yeah.
Do you remember
but when I was 9.
Ronkonkoma? Yeah,
exactly. We moved to Florida, grew up in Hollywood, Florida, and then got married after the typical, come to Israel for seminary, Midrashet, and Stern, and met my husband here in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem. Then we got married and moved to Brooklyn and then Cedarhurst and made aliyah from there. So that was our process. Baruch Hashem, live in Ramat Beit Shemesh, made aliyah in 2006 with 6 kids. We moved here with 3 kids and the other 3 were born here. That's big. What
was that decision to make aliyah? I mean, it's something that is so, I had an interview years ago with Zusha, the music band, when we were speaking about aliyah, and they said, or even it was also Shlomo Katz who said this, to be honest. He said, you have to want to go. Even if you can't, like, let's say you have certain circumstances, and let's say you're comfortable, but there's no excuse for a yid not to want to move to Eretz Yisrael. That's the avodah, if at the very least. What was it always on your radar? It seems like you made some stops in Gullus, of course, in Brooklyn. Everywhere else is fine, but Brooklyn, I'm kidding. I love you, Brooklyn. But you made some stops, in different places here. Was it always the end game for you and your husband and your kids? I mean, moving with a big family is not pashut, no?
So it's true. First of all, like you were saying, like you have to want here, and at least daven to want to live here, right?
Right.
That's just but I always wanted to. It was like not even a question. The big joke was, it wasn't a joke. When I went to seminary my year in Israel, I wanted to stay on, and I was ready to stay. I wanted to do the army back then. I only actually just realized Motzei Shabbos as I was telling this over that when I wanted to stay, it's because I wanted to stay and go to the army. And crazy enough, Mamish only realized this Motzei Shabbos, I wanted to stay to be a paratrooper, which the crazy thing is that's what my son was. I didn't even think about it all these years, but alas, my mom said no. you go off to college, and so whatever, did college and came back. But it was always on my agenda. Even when I met my husband, that was the plan. And he said yes. And then we got engaged and I said, we're going to live in Israel. Yes. And then we got married. Yes. When we retire. And I was like, no, that's not actually what I meant. But Baruch Hashem, we came to Israel, as we were married a few years, for the first few years we came and it grew on him too. He definitely also he was really hit by that. He went to Mar Samach and was just overwhelmed with a feeling of this is the place to be. So I think at that point we had a 5-year plan or 3. I think we had a 5-year plan based on like financial calculations. And Hashem, said, no, not 5 years, it's 3 years. I'm going to give you the money you want now so you can go. And we actually, it was actually a funny thing. We ordered, we moved into our house in Cedarhurst and went to, Frankel's and ordered our furniture set. And, it takes like time for it to get delivered. And by the time it was delivered, that first Shabbos we used it, we made the announcement we were making aliyah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Where, if you
and
don't
my
mind me
husband
asking,
wasn't as, yeah, sure.
Where in Cedarhurst did you live? What block?
West Broadway in Washington.
Nice. Prime location.
I feel like it was the old Kelman house. Everyone knows the Kelmans. So that way they were before us and the Wieners are there now. Yeah. That was
Kelman, like Mrs. Kelman.
Ariella.
She was my teacher.
That was the special house you were in?
No way. Did she also make aliyah? No, she didn't, right?
Not that I know of.
Not yet. Okay. So I guess
maybe after this podcast.
Good for you, Naki, by the way. I feel like usually you refrain from like the Jewish geography stuff, but like go for
2024. I'm feeling crazy. I don't know what to tell you. Like
it's the Jewish geography conversation, by the way, just open parentheses, the pinnacle, like the climax of Jewish geography convo is the following. Oh, very nice.
I know.
Like if you crush that whole conversation, you get to that point of like,
no, come on. But here's the thing, like she, Rebbetzin Jen over here, like her house, that my teacher lived there. Like that's awesome. That's like boom. Now where do we go from there? It doesn't really lead.
No, I'll tell you what it is, Naki. It's shockingly small world. Like I literally drive by that intersection multiple times a day, like in just my regular day life. True.
Well, when the discussion of aliyah comes up, it's sort of like I'm curious about it because I know many people who have moved. I also know many people who have moved and came back. When it's talked about, I always talk like I know, which I really don't because I've never done it. But someone remarked, they said, that they're going to try to move to Eretz Yisrael, but they're not going to sell their house in America, and they're going to see what happens. So tell me, I guess, address this for me. Is that a you have to burn the bridge behind you when you move to Eretz Yisrael? Otherwise, you're just going to have that out, and you're not going to be able to really do it. What's your thoughts on that?
First of all, I never believe in burning bridges. Like that's just bashita. Like,
what if you flood it with like a lot of water? You just flood it.
But you don't know. But look, you have to take the leap of faith when you make aliyah. It's not easy. It's not as smooth. You don't have your gourmet glatt. You don't have your pre-cut vegetables and it's not as convenient, but it's way more fulfilling. So for those who need to hold on to what if I don't, this is you can use that mashal with anything in life. What if this shidduch, maybe I should just have the other person's number in the background just in case. Or maybe I should just have a second, another opinion of somebody because I might need to go back and count on them. That's life in general. Or you're just going to say, this is what feels right. This is what looks right. This is what halacha is. This is what our history is. I'm just going to go for it. So it depends on a person's, personality also. Somebody can go shopping for a refrigerator and need to have 42 lined up that they're going to check each one of them. Or you're just going to say, you know what? This one's great. Yalla, take it.
100%.
I think it was Ari Blau who quoted, he may have quoted Jon Stewart that gave him the best career advice that he got, which was no plan B. He didn't have a plan B, and he wanted to have a successful career in late night, and he pursued it with the empowerment of no plan B.
We actually made my daughter's wedding during Corona, and we planned on a garden wedding by my cousin's house, and I kid you not, we are on the way and the caterer calls up and he says, it's raining. What's plan B? And I said, there is no plan B. And that was it. The rain stopped. Like,
Nice.
So the food was wet a little bit. No.
Wow.
They dried it. They washed the plates.
Yeah. What was the adjustment for the kids in terms of making aliyah? Were they also on board, like all in?
Look, they were young. I had a 6 and a 4 and a 2-year-old. So that was, they only know what their parents did. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't hard. But even, look, we live in Ramat Beit Shemesh. Let's call a spade a spade. They live in like Anglo-Welt over here, you know? So my kids are, except for Binyamin, all my other kids are more comfortable in English still. It's their first language. But it would never occur to any of them to go live in Chutz La'aretz or to be drawn even to go back. If we ever go for a summer, they really see it as like, okay, this is fun, but let's go home now.
That's beautiful.
It's a little foreign, like culturally to them.
I guess
I've heard from multiple like new olim, like families that go to Israel and make aliyah, and they sort of project their own fear as parents on their children and say, oh, you know, it's going to be a more difficult transition for the children. And they'll share in reflection that in reality, the children are so resilient and they're so adaptive and flexible, and they just, you know, absorb the culture and they're all in. And sometimes they're way ahead of the parents making the adjustment. I know my wife moved to the United States from Antwerp, Belgium. I was recently in Antwerp, by the way. The crowd over there asked me to give a shout out to Antwerp. Big shout out to Antwerp and Belgium. And it's a tremendous adjustment. But sometimes the children just embrace that change more rapidly than even the parents are able to.
For sure. Children just, look, this is a country for kids. This is a country, the kids are just, the second these families make aliyah, the kids like find this newfound freedom. There's no scheduling play dates. There's no, can you drive me? They're just off at the neighbors and you have to like figure out which neighbor they're at so they can come home for dinner or for showers or for bedtime. Like they go to the shops on their own, even at young ages. It's a country for kids. So the kids, they love it. And it's always the case with parents projecting their own fears onto their kids. I mean, you had that with Corona, you had that with schooling, you had that with everything. You know, kids read their parents. So the kids are just happy to play with friends. They're usually not the issues.
I guess if you can tell us a little bit about your son, Binyamin Aval Shalom, you know, where he ranked in the family in terms of age and just a little bit about him so we get to know him a little bit.
That's so cute. You called him Binyam. That's what I call him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Binyamin is the second of 6. My daughter is the oldest. She's 23, and then came Binyamin, and then Yehuda 19, then a 16, then a 12 and a 10. A little bit about Binyamin. He's a crazy wild one. He was my go-to guy. He was my right-hand man. I counted on him for a lot. He was strong. He understood me. He knew what I needed. He watched out for me. So we were close. He probably told me more things than most parents would want to know about their children. There were things that, you know, my husband didn't know until afterwards that he told me. But he knew I believed in him. He knew he could trust me, and I trusted him. So we had that. Binyamin, look.
I want to invite you to elaborate on that aspect that you just touched on.
Which?
I was recently talking to someone about just creating that environment with children where they're willing to open up and they're willing to talk and willing to share. And I presume it never starts with, you know, the difficult stuff, but rather it starts by developing that relationship so that there's space for the more, you know, intimate information that they're willing to share. Can you share a little bit about fostering that relationship with Binyamin?
So yeah, it definitely doesn't start when you say like, no, tell me. They don't want to tell you when you make them tell you. So I will say, look, we went through a lot with this boy. We went through a lot of parenting workshops, a lot of parenting classes. My older daughter always says, like, you're different parents, you know, before Binyamin and after Binyamin. And Baruch Hashem, at least the chunk of the other kids are after Binyamin. So they got the new and improved parenting. My husband and I did a lot of, we went to a lot of parenting workshops. We consulted a lot with Rabbi Dov Brizak, who really saved Binyamin, because my daughter, the older one, was, you know, she was a good listening child and she just did what she was supposed to. And then came Binyamin, who, you know, we had to, like, I mean, he went to 7 different schools. He was not, he was, as my husband says, he wasn't kicked out. He was just asked to leave. He was not easy to raise. You know, he always wanted to push limits, and he always wanted to just see how much more he can. But a lot that I had learned was not being the policeman, being the parent, not needing to, definitely being mechanech, but positive, you know, praising, and when he would say things, not being on his case, but just fostering, like, just letting him know that I looked through all of this and all the different schools. I really, I had his back, and I vouched for him because I believed in him. I believed in his strengths and his skills. And even if it wasn't sitting in school and doing work in school and following rules for school, but he knew that I thought he was great. So we just, it fostered from there.
Beautiful. Is something, you know, I guess Binyamin ending up joining the army, was that ever in question? Was that something that was discussed? I know you had said that you had that same conversation with your mother. I don't know if it was a conversation, and she's like, absolutely not. What was that conversation like with Binyamin? Yeah,
so when you make aliyah, I mean, it's not necessarily what you think of. You don't say, right, oh, but, you know, if I make aliyah with a 4-year-old, well, then in another 12 years, you know, or 14 years or whatever, you don't think of that, but you know, it's part of life here. So it's just what happens. As far as what he did in the army, look, so again, he was always going to go. That wasn't what's up for discussion. And typical Binyamin, he wasn't going to, like, be okay with just being a regular combat soldier. He only wanted higher, more elite units. In fact, even though he got into the paratroopers unit, he wanted to go higher and do more, but then he ended up staying on his level, or whatever you want to call it, because he was with a great group of yeshiva guys and he wanted to stay with them. So,
so when you're saying, like, when you make that move, when you make aliyah, you're definitely not thinking about, well, kids are going to serve in 12 years from now.
I mean, again, I came with young kids. So if somebody's coming with teens, they know that in another year or two, they will be serving. It is going to be on other people's minds, especially my kids were younger. So it didn't have to, but it's just, look, the guys here, it's not only just what they do, they look forward to it. It's like, you know, they call it here, like, a magever. Like, that's what makes you, you know, a man. It's just their greatest memories, their greatest, I mean, obviously it's time of war, so it's different now. But when it's not war, armies, like a guy club. They do have, they is why even the guys who go back to Miluim, like, a lot of them enjoy it. They're not with their kids, they're not with their work, they're with their old friends, and they have a good time. It's just now we're in war, so perspective's a little different. But it's part of life here, you know.
We'll be right back to this episode, but first I want to tell you something from my new friend at Mosaica Press. It's a new, beautiful book sitting here right in front of me, The Breathtaking Panorama by Rabbi Yonah Skler. A view like you've never seen before. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of family, faith, and freedom? Rabbi Yonah Skler's Breathtaking Panorama offers a comprehensive approach to the story that we all know, we all grow up hearing, and that is of Yetzias Mitzrayim. It will leave you absolutely astounded. You'll gain insights into marital harmony and child rearing, find a loving God in the challenges of life, and understand the synergetic relationship between freedom and responsibility. What does Aaron Feldman say about this book? He says it is a masterful and sweeping work. Rabbi Lapiansky says it is a magnificent tapestry. And that's why you should go ahead and pick up this book. Let me tell you something else about our little partnership over here with Mosaica Press. Every week, they'll be giving away another book to you. Head to the link in the show notes in the description of this episode. Hit that link, go to the website, you input your email, and you are entered into a raffle. Every single week, they'll be giving away a book. So do you like reading? Do you like books? You want a free book? You want to have so many chances to win that? That's going to happen by hitting that link below and getting started on that giveaway. And of course, if you see something else that you want from Mosaica Press, you go to mosaicapress.com. Make sure to use Meaningful15 for 15% off any purchase that is Meaningful15 at mosaicapress.com. Now enjoy the rest of this episode.
I had a conversation with Hadass Lowenstern the other day.
Oh, wow.
Who lost her husband, Alicia, in battle. And one of the things I asked her, and she said yes to this, and she elaborated a bit, was I asked her if, did you have a conversation with your husband about how the family should react if he were to fall in battle? And she said yes, and she outlined a little bit of what they discussed. Now, I obviously it's very different to have the conversation with his spouse, a spouse, than it is from mother to child. But was a conversation like that had with Binyamin?
First of all, I can you set me up with Hadass because I want to talk to her. Just saying.
100%.
I want to be on her team.
By the way, 100%. Nissan
Right?
will take care of that after 1,000%. We could.
But look, Binyamin was even before the war. He told us straight out that he is ready to die for this country if that's what it's going to take to make the land safer. It was very clear to him. He literally told us, if I have to die for Eretz Yisrael, I have to die for Eretz Yisrael. He was ready from the start to give his heart and soul and his blood for the Am and for the people and for the land. And if it wasn't going to be in the army, it was going to be in Lucky. I'm sure, I don't know, where this conversation is going to go afterwards, but he worked at a farm, and a very dangerous one. If I can elaborate if you want, but and it was surrounded by Arabs, and he was always ready to fight for the land. You're
As a
probably
parent,
wondering what this farm is.
Yeah, no, it's not like Animal Farm. Definitely not Animal Farm.
I'm intrigued.
Right, not Animal Farm and not an agricultural like hydroponic, grow your strawberries. It's so out in the Shomron where there are the settlements, yeshuvim. So outside there, they set up these farms to keep the Arabs further away. So outside ones that are more strategic, look, most of the settlements have Arab villages not so far away. So they set up these farms and they have cattle there, cow, sheep, whatever is for each farm. And that's, it's literally to keep the Arabs from encroaching on the land.
Wow. So
Binyamin spent a lot of time there. He built a homemade house there, handmade house. Out there, and he would herd cows, and that was what he did when he wasn't in yeshiva or wasn't at the army, or wasn't home for the little bit he was home. He would spend his time there and do shmirah, and do and herd cows so that the land would be, the yeshiva was safer.
I have so many questions on what.
It's remarkable oh, nice. It's easier when we're live, but when we're in person.
Right, you can feel off each other.
We're telepathic.
Body language chemistry. Yeah. But when we're remote like this, for anyone that's listening, not watching, it's a little bit harder to coordinate the chemistry on a remote interview.
Rock, paper, scissors? Or you got this one?
Exactly. I will defer to you now.
I was going to say, I have so many questions based on what you had just said, about hearing that from a child, that they're someone who's 17, 18 years old, that they're ready to die for the land. You imagine you raise kids and you intend for those kids to get married and be at their wedding and, be at their kids' weddings and all that. Must be, I guess you'll describe to us how that feels, but October 7th comes and the country goes to war. And that comes with a realization, I'm sure for you and your husband, that this is serious. Can you take us into the household on that day and what's going on?
So October 7th, so his birthday, I'll just back up a little bit.
Sure.
The week before October 7th, so during Chol HaMoed, he had been doing Shmirah in Hebron. On Hoshana Rabbah, on that Friday, we went to Hebron for Nate's and then had a beautiful family breakfast afterwards. So we got to see him then. And then for Simchas Torah, he was going to this farm because they wanted to make a minyan there and be Mesameach over there. So he went there. And then when everything started going on, we hear all the sirens here and the rockets are going. And then didn't take too long to see cars in, Ramat Beit Shemesh, where there are virtually no cars driving, but every block now starts having cars go out with soldiers. And then we got the picture that this was a big deal. It was the most surreal scene. So we already knew that if cars were leaving here with soldiers, then Binyamin was also in. So we knew that he was going. He called us Motzei Shabbos to tell us that he went to his base, and then from there they helicoptered them down south, and he got there Motzash. At first nobody knew it was flying. Nobody understood the picture. You're worried, but you couldn't make sense of anything. Did they even have their phone? They didn't have their phone those first few days. But they would call us. I mean, they were in Binyamin's group was in a house in one of the kibbutzim. So you would call us from a house, call us from this phone, a landline, to let us know that he was okay. Again, everyone was just in such shock that it didn't even digest to be so worried about your own kid. And then when we realized that this is going to be longer term and they're going to be staying and they're going to be training and they're going to be going in, the worry level starts rising. And that's when everybody starts taking on all their extra kabbalos and extra tefillos. And anxiety levels were definitely up. There's nothing to say, but I will say, even one time I spoke to Binyamin, I just said oh, phew, you're back at the base. At least I don't have to worry the same. He's like, Mom, you never have to worry. Hashem is with us. It's these guys their emunah level was so innate and natural that they were the ones that were strong, and they gave all of us the strength. And then, in fact, they were back at the base and training, ready to go into Gaza. And then at that point, they were held up to go back into Gaza. And Binyamin, they were just losing it. All they wanted to do was go in and fight already. They felt like we're trained. They wanted to just go and take care of the job and wipe them out. They couldn't wait to go in. But obviously, as parents, we're all worried. It's true. And we were davening and pouring our hearts in. And the whole nation was just up in arms as far as how can I help? What can I do? What chesed can I perform? And, the night that Binyamin was, the night that we found out Binyamin was killed, in fact, I even had this conversation with my brother. And I said to him, I just wish we can go back in time. This was 6 weeks after. Yeah. 6 weeks after. Does that make any sense? October to November. Yeah. 5 weeks after October 7th, basically. Or 2 months after October 7th. And I first said, I just wish we can go back in time. It didn't even enter my head to go back in time pre-aliyah. That wasn't even up for a discussion. It was I said, I don't know. I was thinking, what does that mean? And I was no, I don't want to go back to before October 7th, because the growth that Am Yisrael has made since then, I don't want to go back there. Nothing can compare to the way our nation is holding now. And then can I go back to before Binyamin going in, after? And I just realized there's nothing I would go back to. So as hard as it is, our nation is so much more than it ever has been in our history. And as hard as it is, I would never go back. I would never ask for it to go back.
As I hear you describe that growth that Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, have been going through since this past Simchas Torah, and the vantage point that you have on that growth that the Jewish people are experiencing, to the point where you could say, even with your experience, where you could say, I don't want to go back. That is so astonishing. And I want to invite you to elaborate on, what do you see as the Jewish people's growth since Simchas Torah this year?
Wow. I look, my husband and I, Baruch Hashem, are zochet to be usually on the giving end. We usually, we're involved in a lot of organizations, and and projects here and there. We do our thing. And now I'm on the other side, right? I'm on this end where Shiva and shloshim, the whole community, I actually have no words to describe how much they have done for us. And at Kedei Kach, I feel indebted forever. And it's a thank you that I will never my bracha to them was that I will never be able to repay you for this, because you will never have to go through this, Be'ezrat Hashem. So that was like but the beauty that I don't even want to say that war has brought out, because it's more than war. It's Am Yisrael. I mean, even in Chutz La'aretz, you're there, you're giving, you're doing unprecedented of what people in Chutz La'aretz are doing. And what's happening? Everyone's giving. And then, the famous Rav Dessler, where you're giving and then it makes you love. It's not because you love the person you're giving to them. Everyone's giving. And then the displaced families. We had a family living here for 2 weeks. We had Baruch Hashem having a place up in Sfat. There was a family living there for a few weeks. Like, everybody's giving and doing and cooking and baking and delivering and packaging. And so the whole nation is giving and doing. So everyone's feeling even more love for Am Yisrael. Hashem has like generated this like mass avat chinam movement, the biggest kiruv organization. Hashem is like, he's just created a scenario where Am Yisrael has grown exponentially. And it's something that I hope we never ever take even the smallest step backwards, because we can only charge forwards, because it's just, we're not even just like another people. We're a completely other people, at least from what I can see.
It's one thing to hope, I mean, I think we're all on the same page. We hope it never goes back. And it's a discussion that's being had now, is how do we make sure, especially here in Chutz La'aretz, honestly, how do we make sure that we don't go back as time goes on, as we're further removed? How do we make sure as a people that this is, we had the same conversation, I guess, during COVID, where there was a certain feeling during Corona, the closeness, the togetherness. And I think it was our Menachem Nissel said, when you're davening about, going back to normal, which a time where there's no more plague, be very clear what you want to go back to. Maybe we don't want to go back to normal. You want to go forward. You want to go to Mashiach. We don't want to go back. How do we make sure? What's some practical, tips that you would think we could apply?
I don't have answers. Who am I? I want to describe something that we experienced this past Shabbos. And I think that this is a little taste, and it might help everyone come up with answers. There was a Shabbaton that was made for families that lost children in this war. It was a very last minute put together weekend, meaning I think somebody had the idea on Friday, and then by Sunday they said, is it really possible? By Monday they started planning. Tuesday the flyer went out, you had to sign up. Wednesday it was all closed, and by Shabbos everything was perfect. 45 families had signed up. I think that was the max. And all kinds of Jews, as you can imagine. There were, religious, more religious, less religious, not religious at all. And we all had Shabbos together in a beautiful hotel in Yerushalayim, which was godless in and of itself. But what was the extra added beauty? The people who organized the Shabbaton for families of soldiers was done by an organization called Menucha V'Yeshua. That's Rav Shaila's, like a chesed organization that's, I think, under Rav Shaila Kalistir. Anyway, so they organized it. And then you had a special yid from, Tash, from Montreal, and then he lives in Monsey, and he was collecting money from all different kinds of chassidim, including Satmar, and everyone's giving and helping to organize this Shabbos. And if I tell you that at this Shabbos, these chassidim were going around and serving the food. I mean, and there was hotel staff, but they kept coming around. Oh, can I get you another drink? Is there anything else you need? The chassidim are serving our families. Now, I feel like I'm a Talmud of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. I love every kind of yid. Like, this stuff doesn't faze me. But there were people there that probably never would have looked at each other in the eyes. And now they are spending the most, I'm trying to think of the word in English, the most awesome Shabbos together. And everybody's lifting each other up. And it was gorgeous. How do we keep that going afterwards? I'll tell you. I spoke to the head of that organization. I don't even know. I mean, I'll say his name. I don't know. Mendy Kenning this morning for a long time. And all he wants to do is make more Shabbos like this. So it's going to keep giving, because then he's going to keep seeing how people are healed. There was a lady at the Shabbaton who said, this was the first morning I was happy to wake up. So they're getting this feedback. So they want to do other Shabbaton. So other families are feeling good and everyone is giving. It's a cycle and it's a cycle. What will be afterwards? Be'ezrat Hashem, everyone's just going to get all this positive feedback, and it will legalgel be'ezrat Hashem. It'll keep going forward. If not, Hashem's just going to have to bring the Beis HaMikdash down, or these chayalim that are up there building this Beis HaMikdash are just going to have to bring it down, and we'll have to learn it that way. Like that. I don't have another answer.
There's obviously, the video at Binyamin's Levaya went around of you walking around in the rain, singing, Hamakam, and singing Achenu, and you were riling up the crowd, is I guess a way to describe it. Could take us into that moment, to your mind. What was going through your mind at that moment?
I'm not really so sure how to answer that. I do remember saying, I don't know. We were ready to go into our van. The army had a van for us to go to the cemetery. And I saw everybody out there and I was just moved. I don't know. So I just went and the singing is going and it just took on its own entity. I'm not so sure I have words. But it was really a moment of, like definitely everyone was feeling the pain and they were with us. I don't really have much more that I can. It was just a moment. It was just the moment.
We'll be right back to this episode, but it's not an episode if you don't hear from two of my best friends in the entire world. First, Collars & Co. Are you sick and tired of wearing a sweatshirt like the one I'm wearing right now on a winter day? You want to look more professional? You want to go to work and your boss say, hey, dude, where's your shirt? You got to wear a shirt. You're an accountant. You're a lawyer. But you want to be comfortable also. That's why you shop at collarsandco.com. They have the most amazing shirts that you can wear with a beautiful sweater on top. And underneath, the shirt is like a t-shirt. It could be short sleeves. If you're like one of those guys that's sweating, you're all, you don't like the long sleeve. It's getting stuck under your sweatshirt. It's just too much stress. Too much stress. You go to collarsandco.com and that stress just goes away because you now are comfortable and you look great. That's why you go to collarsandco.com. Make sure to use promo code MMWinter for 15% off any purchase over $100. You're going to like the way you look. You're going to like the way you feel. That's because you're shopping at collarsandco.com. And of course, another one of my best friends, Town Appliance. Oh my goodness. They have been so busy since they came on this podcast. But guess what? They have a lot of staff. So let's get them even busier. You need to replace something in your home. You're looking for a new fridge. Maybe you're building a new house and you want all your appliances done in a seamless manner. You go to townappliance.com or you can get the link in the show notes in the description of this episode and just message them on WhatsApp. It's that simple. It's that simple. They've been doing this since 1979. I was born in 95. That means they've been doing this for a long time before I was born, like math people, at least 16 years. Yeah, 16 years before I was born, they've been just taking care of people's appliances. Doesn't that say something? That says a lot to me. They've been the number one trusted town appliance store, and that's why you need to go to townappliance.com and make sure you use them because they are the best. Townappliance.com or hit the link in the show notes in the description of this episode and reach them on WhatsApp. Now back to this episode.
There's another clip that Nachi shared with me, and that is the Heilige Rabbi Shlomo Katz was conducting I don't know what the venue was, but they were sitting around and they were playing music, and there was beautiful singing, and there was a point where I believe you took the microphone and you just called everyone out for having some sad faces on, and you were really encouraging and empowering everyone to do the avodah that was going on there from a place of simcha. And I found that so inspiring because, we could hear people talk about the inyan of simcha and the importance of being in a place of happiness and to do our avodas Hashem with joy. And it's wonderful and it's very important. But when you get that empowerment from someone that is in the middle and in the process of grieving, that makes that message and that avodah that much more real. And I would invite you to go into that place and what was going on at that event that brought you to sort of grab that mic and redirect the crowd.
That one I had a little more clarity on. Before the night started, and I spoke to Shlomo Katz, and he's like, "Well, what do you want from the night?" And I said, I want everyone's hearts to be opened, and I want everyone's hearts to be like just ready to like soar up, right? I want the Shamayim to be opened. I just want everyone's hearts to just. So that was actually like the goal. He wanted it to be a night where people would just turn in tefillah, that we can just break any barriers. So this was the shloshim, and we wanted the shloshim to be kumzitz style for that reason. So yeah, as you can imagine, there were hundreds of people in the room, and in the middle of all the singing, I literally was like looking around, and I saw everyone's crying. I understand it's a shloshim, but everyone's crying nonstop. And the singing was like people were looking down and singing like, I just kept looking around the room. I'm like, okay. I kept waiting for Shlomo Katz like to have a little break in the song just so I can like interrupt, and that was not happening. So I was like, okay. I kept sitting in my chair like ready to go. And then I just said like, yeah, I'm going for it. And that was it. I just said like, you saw the video. That was okay. First of all, lesson to be learned. You never know when you're on video, and you never know when people are going to watch your video at the Levaya, at the this. I never would have thought that this is what's coming of all this. And now I know, you got to be
really
a little
sorry,
more
by the way,
seichel
because we kind of posted that video on Instagram and I got like 100,000 views. So,
I'm actually mortified by that video. I don't know what it is. I'm like, oh no, every time someone says about the video. Okay, whatever. Lesson learned. I got it. I'm going to like be a little.
My wife told me, she's like, you're going to do this interview. I can just tell you one thing. Make sure to smile. I'm like, okay, I'm going to smile.
But anyway, the kids when it came to that was, I just realized that, whatever, you saw the video. I just felt like this is not how tefillos are going to be answered. Tefillos are not going to be answered. They are. When we take demaot, we can open the shari Shamayim with tears, but I really think it's not tears of sadness that's going to do it. I think tears of hope, obviously tears of joy, but I think the tears of hope are what's going to open those Shamayim gates. I'm not so sure it's broken. I know, the Katz goes, nothing so whole as a broken heart. We're all broken. But I think there's a difference between brokenness and sadness. Because I think the people who are sad, it's very hard for them to get up, and it's very hard to look forward. And pain, we live with pain. At the Shabbats, there was another family that spoke. And I was in the middle of like making conversation with a non-religious family. And so I was talking to her, and she's, whatever, had my private conversations with her in her pants, wearing her pants and living with her boyfriend and whatever. I'm schmoozing with her. And the next speaker was a Rav from Modi'in Eilat, whose son was killed on October 2nd on Simchas Torah. And he also says, and we can't have our heads down, and we have to have our heads up high, and we have to move forward, and we have to this, and Simcha. And he was talking about Yaakov Avinu, looking old, and how he's punished because he even looked older. And I said to her, see, if we were just listening to him, we would say, you can't say such things. How dare you? Because you're talking to us. But I said to her, but he also lost a child. He's in the same boat as you and the same boat as me. So we can talk like this and we can listen to him. Kilo, I believed him. I was just, trying to tell. But it's true. There was so much that came out of the Shabbos of realizing we're all in this place where we feel that this is not what our kids want us to do. There's all these soldiers who died. Like I kept saying at the Shiva, like Binyamin would be so upset seeing me cry. He would be like, Mommy, get up, go have a l'chaim, stop the sobbing. Like I just like mamish picture that. I really think that was not his, I think he'd be like, I went to a wedding last week and I felt like I told them beforehand, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay past the chuppah. I'm going to try and stay for the chuppah. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be like. Don't set me a seat. Like, and at the chuppah, I realized, you know what? If I dance, everyone's going to dance. because everyone's down with the situation. Everyone's feeling pain and feeling mourning. But if I dance, then I've never been zocha to misameach chasim v'kala like I was that night. Mamash zachiti. And it was after a glass of wine. That was obviously necessary, but besada, then it turns into a party.
100%. They many times people say, and we've interviewed many people on this podcast who have lost a child, unfortunately. But there's a certain feeling, even maybe before they know that something is amiss. If you could take us back to finding out that Binyamin had been killed, was there at all something that you felt something was wrong when you found out? Was there just take us into that moment, I guess.
So that Shabbos morning, he was killed on Shabbos. That Shabbos morning, it's just everything's so clear. Well, first of all, I'll even back up. That Friday night, we were with our mechutanim for dinner around a Sheva Brachos Shabbos. Lit candles. Friday night, I burst into tears. And you just chalk it up to the situation. Like, it's a sucky situation. Like, you just think that was it. But it was almost uncontrollable. But besada, I don't know, maybe it was just about the, davening for everybody. And then, so Shabbos morning I was in shul. After Kriyas Torah, I just, I couldn't stay. I felt like I just needed to leave. As I was leaving, my 10-year-old daughter, she's walking into shul and she's, Mommy, I thought, you told me to come. And I said, no, I know, but now I need to go home. And she's like, what's wrong? I said, I just need to, I don't know, I feel like I just need to say Tehillim. And we go home and I sit down right at this table and I just start bawling. And I'm saying Tehillim and I'm bawling. I don't even know, and my sweet 10-year-old, she's holding me, she's hugging me, and I didn't even know what to say. And I just kept saying, I just wish everyone can just be home together for Shabbos. And then she handed me a sefer, a bitachon sefer. She's like, Mommy, I think you need this. And whatever, after a little bit, okay, you wipe up, and you said it. And everybody came back from shul. And we carried on with the day. And Shabbos lunch, okay, besada. And then went to go lay down. And then my husband comes running up, come downstairs, put something on quickly, come down. And just what, are the kids okay? He's like, no. I'm picturing, if the kids aren't okay, why are there not ambulances? What's going on? And then I came down and I just saw the soldiers there. And then I knew. And sat down. Baruch Emes. I actually, for the first time, I didn't need any parish on what does it mean, Vayidom Aaron, because kibalti. I had no words. You just sat there, Vayidom Aaron. Couldn't even process. And then when I asked them what time it happened, they said in the morning, anytime from 9:30 to 10:30, which was probably about that time. Did I know what was going on? I didn't know, but just felt an uncontrollable pain. I don't know. Some people have, and I've learned over Shabbos, some people had this, some people didn't. Some people had feelings before, some people had dreams, some had nothing. But that was our experience.
I wanna ask you how you would want. You mentioned you were by this wedding, and you knew that if you were to dance, and everyone would dance. And there's people who are going to see you in the grocery, and there's people who are going to see you walking the street. And maybe some people will, give a little nod with their head down. How do you want people to deal with you, your kids, your family, in light of all that happened?
That's a good question. Funny enough, I think it depends on the day, because some days I need the hug. Some days I need the, I got you, Jen. And some days it's just like, you know what, let me just go for a run and I don't really care about anything else. It's, what would I want people to? I mean, a lot of people, they'll just, I think we're over the giving the look, oh, she's here.
Yeah.
We got over that already. I think people know where I stand or not. But, I think that's a little past us. But I'm happy to give people hugs. They come over and can I just give you a hug? Or if I'm not in the mood for it, then I need to know that I need to avoid it. I'm not going to go someplace and know that I'm going to see people if I'm not ready to see people.
Right.
So I don't know how to answer that. We're still newbies.
As I hear you describe your son's experience and his willingness as he expressed to you and articulated so expressly that he is willing to go into the army and to fight for the Jewish people, even if that means that he reaches a point where it is revealed that his life stood for that. And, in Israel, the Jewish people have the opportunity to put themselves into a context where you make a very clear choice that I'm willing to live my life for this cause and let my life serve for this cause. And I'm wondering, as people that are listening to this, maybe outside of Israel, in Chutz La'aretz, whether it's America or beyond, how do we develop that headspace of letting our Yiddishkeit, letting our Judaism be what we're willing to live for without being able necessarily to serve in the army, for example?
I mean, I feel like I should be asking you that question. It's
not how this works. It's not how this works.
I mean, look, I'll start with this. We went to Rav Asher Weiss during the shloshim, for chizuk, for bracha, for eitzah. Now look, I have two other boys right after Binyamin who also want to do the army now, and now we have to sign that they can do the army. Okay, we have to sign that they can be combat soldiers. Okay. So Rav Asher Weiss asked my boys, what do they want to do? And one says, I want to be in paratroopers. And the other one said, I also want to be combat. And so Rav Asher Weiss then told us a story, how when he was on a Zoom, still during the war now, he was on a Zoom with, and the lady had asked a shir on Zoom, and somebody had asked, look, I can get my son out of combat. Can I? I can give him a desk job. I have connections. And he said, and then right then, knock on the door, two soldiers come in. They came to Rav Asher Weiss to get a bracha because they were going into Gaza. And he pulls them over and he has the next to his side and he says to them, listen, if you can get a desk job or you can get a different job in the army, what would you choose? And they said, we're going in to fight. It was clear as day, this is what they wanted to do. And Rav Asher Weiss said to the lady on Zoom, you got your answer. It's what, look, this is our land. And it's not because, we don't have another land. This is our land. This is Admat Kodesh. This is our Kedusha place. This is our home. This is our history. So every soldier out there knows that they are fighting for something that is part of them. They're passionate about it. They want this. They want to finish this war in finishing it. Not because the government says it's over, but because they want evil to be destroyed. They want evil out and their homeland safe. They're fighting so that Am Yisrael. Binyamin also said, he says, well, I'm fighting so that the Am can have the land, so that people can make aliyah and live all down south. He envisioned this is all going to end up with a mass aliyah and a whole new area for people to live.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
We have a question submitted from one of our Plus members. So they sent in a question. I'll play the audio now. Maybe you know them even. I don't know. They live in Ramat Beit Shemesh. So here it is. This question may have even been touched upon, but out of respect for someone who wanted to ask you a question.
Mrs. Airley, this is Eli Waldrum from Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's an absolute chus to be able to send you a message. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being an absolute giant when it comes to giving us chizuk, giving those of us here who are weak and who struggle day by day and who haven't come close to experiencing or dealing with anything like you and your family have. We look towards you for chizuk, and we are so inspired. Take a look at what you're doing, and the Kiddush Hashem and the chizuk you're giving Klal Yisrael, and it helps us get through the day. Anytime we're feeling a weak moment here, turn on that video of you in the street, and things feel okay. So I want to thank you for that. May your family absolutely never know of any more pain and suffering, and we should all be zocha to the Geula and Mashiach and Tchias HaMesim today. My question, and feel free to pass on it. I feel embarrassed to even ask you a question. But my question would be, if you had an opportunity to address or ask the people in Chutz La'aretz, those who are in America, those who are in Europe and Canada, and so on and so forth, who are staying there and who are helping us over here, but who choose to remain and feel quote unquote comfortable over there. If you had a microphone and you had an opportunity to address them, despite the fact that we're in the middle of a very rough situation, what would you say to those people living in Chutz La'aretz right now? Thank you very much, and Sir Sovus.
Amen.
That's the question.
Well, first of all, just so you know, any words that come out of my mouth are clearly like in, out, like Hashem, just like, I'm just the kli. I somebody said like, oh, what'd you speak about last night? I have no idea. Whatever Hashem put out of my mouth, like I so just know any inspiration, Kilo, it's all from him. I'm just the shlicha at this point. So just, I don't know what anybody's doing. In all honesty, you guys, I don't know what you're doing in Chutz La'aretz. I don't understand what life is there.
There we go.
That's what I was looking for. No, אבל זה נכון. I'm not, in the same way I could say these, all these things about, because I'm the mother of a lost soldier, but I'm in Eretz Yisrael, so I can say this with vadaut. This is life here. Nachon, it's not easy. Nachon, it's complicated now. It's probably, I was about to say it's not any less complicated than your life, but okay, so we're in war, so kind of is, but it's not. The soldiers are fighting so that we can live. The soldiers are fighting so that we can feel safe and we can continue with life. That's what they're doing. So, Baruch Hashem, we live life, obviously with much more meaning and with much more depth, but we're living life. And we're living life really with meaning. And all the extra beautiful things and the Kivrei Tzadikim and the Levayas, but it's part of our life now, but in the most gorgeous way, in a real, meaningful, fulfilling life. I don't know how else I can relay that. I don't know what you have in Chutz La'aretz. I really don't know. I'm sorry, because I know this is going to be broadcast as the Chutz La'aretz, but I don't understand. I don't understand if, look, okay, so not everybody follows halacha, beseder, because halachically you should be here, beseder. So not everybody's holding with all halachos, hakol tov, there are all these reasons. And I know there are so many inspiring Rebbeim who would love to be here. I do know that, and I feel their hearts. I feel when they're relaying a shir, and their hearts are mamish in Eretz Yisrael. And sometimes I feel like if they would just come, then their keilah, they're also trying to help support and hold up, would also come. Aval beseder. I'm not, ani lo shafetet. Everybody has to do what's going to ultimately work for their family. And if it's not going to work for your family, beseder. But the fact that then you come to Eretz Yisrael and you come and you're part of life, even if it means you have to go back, but at least be part of the life while it's here. I've spoken to so many groups who are here on their missions, on their chesed missions, and they're not the same. They leave here, mamish, different people. They're not coming here like and partying it up at the Inba like all the years before and staying at the King Day. Like it's a different, they're not like coming here to like just go out at all the restaurants. They're coming here now. I'm sure you've even been here yourselves, lo yadat, but on missions to like give, to be involved, to do, to partake. And people are leaving here changed people. Mamish changed people. And this is what life in Eretz Yisrael is doing now. So what to say to people in Chutz La'aretz, I suggest you come, even if it's for a little bit.
Come home.
Just feel what Am Yisrael, come home. But feel, if you can't stay, which you should, come at least and feel l'ishtatef in, betoch, Bonim chaveru a little bit, but even just to realize to keep giving on a personal level, see faces of people who you're giving to. It's going to do wonders for everybody. So, like my mother's, sorry.
No, please go on.
No, my mother's husband had said to his kila, like, enough with the going to hotels for this Pesach. Like, all the Arizonas, the Fountain Blues, all this, they need parnasa also. I got it. I don't know how, I don't want to take anybody's parnasa away. Hashem should take care of everybody's parnasa, b'shefa. But he tells his kila, but come to Israel. Go to Israel instead of, going to all the hotel Pesach programs. Again, I feel bad because I don't want to take away from Hashem, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry everybody who's like counting on that. And maybe they'll make more Pesach programs in Eretz Yisrael and invest in that here. Lo yadat. But
we'd like to thank our sponsor, Nefesh for Nefesh.
Oh.
I'm kidding. They're not a sponsor, but now they are. Really incredible. The last thing I want to ask, maybe Momo will have a question too, but if you can close your eyes, and I'm sure it's possible you do this many times a day, but if you can close your eyes and you see Binyamin sitting in front of you, what would you want to tell him right now?
Bring the house down.
I'm afraid.
Gewalt.
Yeah.
Just if you have to pull David HaMelech down by his, like that, just make it happen. You're up there. You got a little more protectia up there. Make it happen.
Amazing.
Or at least tell us what to do so we can make it happen. I don't know. Send the message. Say, make it clear. Like that. But
100%.
I don't have to tell him I love him. I don't have to tell him I'm proud of him. He knows all of that. That he knows. I don't have to, we're past that.
You're still give him orders, Clean your room.
He didn't listen to me growing up. I don't know if he's going to be listening to me now. But
Mirza Hashem, Mashiach should come and speedily in our days. It should be 11:21 or in Israel 6:21, whatever it is. Mirza Hashem, B'kar Mamish. Thank you so much.
That's how we know you're a true Yid. You know why? Because you see, if you say 11:21 your time, it means you're going to be missing it. Because you still have to get on a plane to get here. So you're davening for all of us in Eretz Yisrael, not even worrying about yourself. I like that.
I gotta book a flight. So I gotta go book a flight. How are you, Elal? Thank you so much for being vulnerable and telling us your story, telling us about Binyamin, your family, and I'm sure everyone will be inspired and they should be inspired to take action, not just be inspired. Inspiration is fleeting. They should be inspired to take action in their own lives. And Mirza Hashem, we all should be zech to come home. And we'll have one big Shabbat meal together.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
All the best.
Thank you so much for listening to the Meaningful People podcast. Really hope you gained from this episode with Jen Airley. Of course, leave a comment. Leave something in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. Family will see it. So many of Binyamin's old friends will see it. So leave a comment. It definitely will be read and it will be appreciated. Thank you so much for rating our podcast 5 stars. And don't only just subscribe to this podcast, but hit that bell. Because if you hit that bell, you get to see that we are releasing midweek, next week, a special piece of content. You're not going to know when it's coming unless you hit that bell. So when you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and then you will know exactly when it's coming out. And it's another incredible story coming at you, a special edition episode of Meaningful People midweek. So get ready for that. Thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate all your feedback. Of course, if you're not part of the Meaningful Minute Plus membership group, go ahead, hit the link in the show notes in the description of this episode. We got so much interaction, fun. Last week we had Avi Fishoff on the podcast, and we brought Avi onto the WhatsApp group for our 3,000 members to answer some of your chinuch questions. And we will continue to do the same with many other guests and many other contributors. So go ahead, hit the link in the show notes in the description of this episode. Really appreciate you being part of this community. I can't wait to see you again next week. Have a great week, everybody.